The back and forth between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities has taken a new turn. At this time, the Ministry of Education is insisting that the federal government has met all the demands of ASUU. Minister of State for Education, Chukwuemeka Nwajiuba, says that all earned allowances as well as revitalization funds have been released. The Academic Staff Union of Universities had earlier declared a rollover strike for another 2 months, beginning from midnight of 14th of March 2022. So officials of the Academic Staff Union of Universities say that the decision to extend the industrial action after a 1-month warning strike is coming as a result of the refusal of the federal government to agree to their demands. So the federal government and ASUU officials have had series of meetings in the wake of the industrial action, and there have been accusations and counter-accusations between both parties as they failed to reach an agreement. Students have protested across the nation, demanding the reopening of university campuses. They accused ASUU and federal government of insensitivity, saying that they are ones most affected by the situation. All right, so joining us now is Chairman ASUU UNILAG chapter, Dr. Dele Ashiru. It's nice to have you join me this morning.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Great.
Thank you.
And we also have joining us here, lecturer at Ogun State University, Dr. Okpeyemi Ashaolu. It's nice to have you join me.
It's my pleasure to
You're
be
welcome.
here. Thank you.
Great. Now, let's begin, Dr. Ashiru. The Minister of State for Education said that all your demands have been met. I wonder if you can confirm that all your demands have been met at this time when you're calling for a rollover of the warning strike into 2 more months. Can you confirm this or otherwise?
Well, you see, when you have people like the Minister of State for Education saying this kind of thing, it shows that there's still a lot of insincerity and lack of the will to deal squarely with the issues. I mean, Nwajiuba is talking about mere symptoms of a deeper malady. And yes, some earned academic allowances were released. As I speak with you, government is still in default of paying the remaining 2 tranches already due. The revitalization fund is even a far cry from being fully paid. President Goodluck Jonathan paid 220 billion out of 103 trillion calculated by government. And since this government came on board, they've only paid a paltry 60 or 70 billion out of the balance of 1.1 trillion. So for a minister of state in the Ministry of Education to continue to peddle lies and mislead Nigerians leaves more to be desired.
Okay, Dr. Ashaolu, I wonder what you make of this, because at the end of the day, like students are saying, they are the ones at the receiving end. Of course, lecturers are feeling the impact. The Nigerian system will feel the impact, if not now, but in the long run. But what do you make of all of these?
Well, it's quite unfortunate that the government, our government, has been so insensitive. And I say this against the backdrop of so many things that have been happening, you know, about this agreement and not being able to be sincere to what they said they were going to do. Now, students saying that they are going to feel the impact, the lecturers feel they feel the brunt as well. When you go to school and you don't get that, okay, why in God's name would our students be going to Ukraine to study if we have what it takes here to actually accommodate them and to actually do the right thing? University education is not meant for everybody, or should not be for everybody. But we teach these students, and you get to see some of the things when the infrastructures are not there. The comrade chair, Dr. Dele Ashiru, would remember the last time it was in my chapter for a congress. The lecture theater where we had that congress is one of the best lecture theater in my place. And I said something to them the last congress we had, that I try to imagine if professors of about 30 years or over 30 years standing are here having congress in this place, and all of us are sweating like what I should not mention. Try to imagine students having lecture in this kind of environment. How do you think, what do you think is going to be of them? And it's quite unfortunate that you have those things in virtually all our universities, talking about all this academic, the end academic allowance. Because of UTAS and all of that, there are lecturers who have not been paid for over 17 months. And I said something to them at the last congress we had in that, see, we really need to inform the public, not even knowing that the Minister for State for Education will come up with this kind of lies. That a whole lot of people have misconception about what ASUU is fighting for. ASUU is fighting for the survival of tertiary education in Nigeria, not about our welfare. And you find out that even when you're talking about welfare, the welfare thing would perhaps be on the number 5 or number 6 or out of all the things ASUU is asking for. So in most cases, it's about, okay, well, how many people do send their children or their works to public primary schools or public secondary schools again? So it's as if our government is deliberate to ensure that the tertiary education goes the way of those primary schools and the secondary schools. So the students should actually think about it. It may not be for now, but that, well, it's going to be for the better of educational sector in Nigeria and nothing more.
Okay. All right. Now, Dr. Ashiru, the point there is negotiations. When you had the first 1 month warning strike, negotiations were going on, and I remember we were together on the show here, and we were looking forward with optimism as to what the outcome of those negotiations will be. And then, after the 1 month warning, in fact, the Minister of Labour had stated that everything will be resolved even before the end of that 1 month. And that was what we were looking forward to. Give us details of why there has to be an extension or a rollover of this warning strike into 2 months.
Well, thank you very much. You see, we all look forward with a lot of optimism that 4 weeks should be adequate for the federal government to put its acts together and, deal decisively with the core issues in our demand. But like Nwajiuba just did, government, functionaries have a penchant for misleading Nigerians and peddling lies, to cover up their inefficiency and their inadequacies. Take, for example, the question of UTAS. The Auditor General of the Federation, in a recently released report, which we have a copy, and we have challenged government to publish that report, described IPPIS as a fraud. That's not coming from us. That's coming from the Auditor General of the Federation. And if you recall, our union had insisted that this ball game you call IPPIS, the nickname is fraud. Now, so government threw the challenge at us. You call yourself intellectuals. Okay, you say this is not good. Give us an alternative. And we set to work. Within 6 months, a software called University Transparency and Accountability Solution was developed for Nigeria, the first of its kind. Now, because our friends in NITDA is the government regulatory agency to license software usage in Nigeria, because they didn't understand the peculiarities of the university system, which was one of the reasons why we rejected IPPIS, said the system failed. Despite the fact that those who will use UTAS in what NITDA described as user acceptability, UTAS scored 88%. Now, when we met government, and then Minister of Labour, to be specific, the argument came, and we were able to convince government that UTAS did not fail. Rather, those who are doing the testing require some, clarification, which we are willing to provide. So we agreed at that meeting that a meeting between our technical team and NIDA should commence, which commenced last Tuesday. While the meeting was going on and clarifications were being made, the Director General of NIDA, who never attended any meeting nor read any of the reports, briefed the Federal Executive Council that UTAS had failed. That's the kind of, ineptitude that goes on in government.
But would it
for the renegotiation?
Yeah, but would it be that one way or the other, even if he didn't attend the meetings, would he have gotten briefs from the meeting before he? Because one would only look at it logically that if you're going to brief the federal government, even if you were not at the meeting, you had representatives who should.
I have just told you that he didn't read the briefs. They had the mindset, and that mindset is that nothing good can come out of Nigeria, and that's the reason why their children cannot school in Nigeria.
Yeah.
It's not because the facilities are not there. The ones that we have, we are making sure that we produce graduates that are sought after all over the world. Yeah. But because they don't believe in this country, and if you look at it, all of the indicators point to that. They have houses in Dubai and in the Americas. When they have a headache, they fly to UK or to Barbados or wherever. When their children are to wed, they go out to Dubai. Yeah. When they are celebrating birthday, they also go there. But when they die, they bury them in Nigeria. So that tells you that we have a group of people who don't believe in Nigeria. And that what we are seeing today are a direct manifestation of that lack of belief. Look, Nelson Mandela, when he was ill, before he died of blessed memory, they were suggesting to take him out of South Africa to be treated. He told them that he would rather die in South Africa than be taken out of the country, to get medical relief. But what do we find in Nigeria? From the lowest government functionary to the highest, jump on the nearest or the closest aircraft to go and be treated for ordinary, toothache out of the country. So that tells you that we have a bunch of people who are really they are not patriotic. They care less about what happens to Nigeria. They are only waiting to serve as an undertaker for this country. And that's why Nigerians and all well-meaning Nigerian people in the academia, in journalism, in the legal profession, everywhere should team up to confront these hawks and ensure that we rescue Nigeria from these people whose only desire is to ground the country.
All right, Dr. Ashaolu, there has been much talk about the issue of independence, some level of reasonable independence, financial independence for university system. And the issue of universities relying solely on government seem to create a situation where government's inability or lack of capacity or whatever the thing is makes the university system to become what we are complaining about. How do we take it up to another level when it comes to university attracting funds that can make them stand on their own?
Well, not until we have people who are actually and who are really interested in this country, Nigeria. Not until then. If we want to look for money for other things, we'll get those money. But it's when we come to education, it's when it comes to education that people just, okay, well, no, we can't get money or funding for this. the nonchalant attitude of the Nigerian elite is actually affecting so many things. And if in universities in UK or in United States of America, you have foundations that would do things, would support in different way. But when the government is not ready to do anything, it's when you are happy as a teacher, as a worker. If you are not happy as a presenter here in TVC, you won't wake up early in the morning to come and present the program at 7 a.m. It's only when people who are doing the job are happy. It's only when the environment is conducive. That's only when you can think about, okay, well, others want to come on board to support the system. But when the government is doing everything possible, with all the lies, with incitements, with inciting the general public that, okay, well, this is what the lecturers are doing, they are not ready to work, they are not doing this and all of that. When the government is doing that, and when the government is not being sincere, that continues to be a problem.
Dr. Shiru, what happens after these 2 months now? Because as it is, we were thinking that we wouldn't get to this level, but here we are now, 2 more months for the strike. At the end of 2 months, before then, we are hoping that something positive comes out. But if nothing happens, what happens?
Well, before I answer that question, let me say something about funding. It is the responsibility of the state to educate its citizens. And no responsible state must shy away from that. That's point number one. Point number two is that, you see, there's nowhere in the world where government washes its hands completely of funding of education. But what they do is provide the lead and the sincerity of purpose, to develop that sector. And then every other person, queues in that direction. Majority of those who are ruling Nigeria today graduated from one university or the other. What any one of them giving back, except a few? Bajabi Amila, the honorable Speaker of the House of should be commended for that. So they should also lead by example in terms of endowment, and also connect university to industries. Our research, our efforts at that intellectual level should have relevance and bearing on society, and vice versa. So people have the need, to invest in the university system when they're sure that what comes out of there will be beneficial to society. Having said that, you see, we were very optimistic because we thought that 4 weeks was enough for government to look at a document that we already have, provide, their thinking on that document, and then we sign and, we put all of this to a closure. They have not done that. Now, what will happen is that we are hoping and praying that within these 8 weeks, which we thought was also an ample opportunity for government to do whatever they want to do and ensure that this strike ends in the interest of Nigeria, in the interest of our students, and in the interest of the Nigerian university system. But if they continue to prevaricate, if they continue to behave in this lackluster and lackadaisical manner, well, our union has its procedures. We will meet again at a venue to be announced and review what has been done thus far and take a decision as a way of moving forward. I am not in a position here, because I am just one out of about 74 other members of the National Executive Council. So I cannot arrogate to myself, that wisdom to say this is what we will do. But in our usual traditional manner, we will meet at the expiration of the 8 weeks, review the situation, and brief Nigerians as appropriate.
Yeah, let me stay with you. The point there is, at this point where we're talking about negotiation, going to the negotiation table will always require the issue of the shifting of grounds. We know that that has been done in the past and all of that, but here we still are talking about coming to the table to negotiate. So what area of negotiation and how much of shifting of ground will ASUU be ready to make at this time to ensure, okay, let's go back to the classrooms, we'll handle the others as we get along?
You see, the Nigerian academia had been taken for a ride for a long time. We go on strike, they call us to the table, they give us what we ourselves have described as tokenism. And then later people like Nwajiuba will say, we have paid an allowance, we have paid this and all that. This time around, we have a document with government since May 2021. We are saying that that document be scooped up or excavated wherever it's buried, and let government tell us and Nigerians what they can do. And at that level, we will look at government's proposal. As we speak, we have a proposal before government, but there's nothing from government in return. So what we are saying is, give us a proposal. Let us even see how you are thinking. And then when we see that, we will also say, okay, this is the irreducible minimum that we can take. This is how far we can go. That is what is called a negotiation. You cannot collect somebody's document and dump it somewhere and then go on air misleading Nigerians and the public about and telling lies about what you have not done that you are claiming to have done. So what we are simply saying is, bring up this document, let us look at it, and then we agree. Our union, as always, is prepared to shift ground as much as we can, not to jeopardize the interest of our students, the interest of the Nigerian university system, and the development of our country. Beyond that, our union is fine.
All right, Dr. Shaulu, the point there is, I know that at the forum of lecturers beyond the shores of Nigeria, you all meet and you talk and you share ideas and share experiences and all of that. What do they say about Nigeria with all of these experience that we're going through like this?
Well, I think the experiences are some of the things that are, make us, to be doing well out there, because you can't. A lot of people are getting into serious research, publishing, some international journals, and people are working. People get collaborative efforts, with other lecturers in other high-flying universities in the UK, all over the world, and you find out, there are peculiarities of the system in each country, and find people from here go out and they're doing well. And like my brother said the other day, that our students are the best of brains, in Europe.
Even in the Ukraine you mentioned earlier, students from Nigeria have always shown them that that excellence in medicine. We've always, our students always come out first class. We've had that consistently in the last 5 to 6 years.
So it's fine. It's quite unfortunate that we're having this kind of situation whereby, the government is doing everything possible to make sure that, you can, the tertiary education is not something, an ordinary man can afford or, gets to send their words, to. But having said that, it's something that we really need to look into, and if we have been negotiating and the government is not sincere in its own part of a deal, like, we actually agreed that we're going to, now we said let's renegotiate, and then you are keeping the document, and then you are going to say all sorts of things, to Nigerians that, that this is not a thing. Until we are sincere, nothing is not going to happen.
All right, Dr. Ashiru, the point is, seeing it from other perspectives, although there has been cases where it looks like, or it feels like, for those of us who are watching from the sidelines, it looks like maybe government is not coming out to discuss the way it's supposed to, but is it possible too that at least there are reports that government is broke? We've had government officials at one time saying that Nigeria is broke. Is it possible that this could be some of the reasons why government is not being able to meet some of these demands?
No, I don't think so. Government is broke. We were told $1 million to Afghanistan. We are currently doing so many things that you can't find any justification for. Government is broke. Okay, let's declare austerity measure. In declaring austerity measure, the president will not fly out of the country.
Absolutely.
He should sell some of those aircrafts so that we can conserve funds, because whether your aircraft is parked there or is in the air, you pay.
Yeah.
Now, so they should lead by example, and then let the executive arm of government cut down, on cost of governance. Let legislature do same. Yeah, and then Nigerians will all understand that government is broke. But so long as you say you tell lies when it comes to funding education that you are broke. Look, it's not true that government is broke. Yeah, the economy may be in bad shape because of lack of deep thinking in governance. Take for example, we have ostentatious leaders who consume what we don't produce. The one we produce, they don't look at it. Yeah. I made an example some time ago. Innocent is producing cars in Nigeria.
They don't use it.
How many members of the National Assembly are riding Innocent's car? Or even the presidency? We all import the cars at exorbitant prices. So how do you develop local content if you don't consume what you produce and develop them therefrom? So you see, it's a thinking challenge. And it's also attitudinal. We have a political elite that is parasitical. They behave like parasites. They are just, when you have a pest, it will just be, sucking you gradually and all that. That's what they are doing. Because look, if we want to develop Nigeria, the blueprints are there. So the question of being broke, yes, Nigeria may not have money as we expect, but government finds money to feed its ostentatiousness, and that argument will not be acceptable by our union. It is our conviction that if the political will is there, government should, like our president once suggested, take only 2% of federal allocation. Agree, federal government, state, local, that before distributing this federal allocation, let's take 2% and give to education. We will solve all of this problem. But they want to buy 2 cars every year. They want to go on holiday. Most of them don't even stay in Nigeria anymore. They are permanently either in Dubai or somewhere outside the country. So government can always find money to do what. And of course, our union have also suggested to government avenues of raising funds, to support education, like we did for TED Fund. But today, TED Fund is also under the political hammer of government, because now they have even, given that government agency to an undertaker, a former or the retired permanent secretary whose disdain for education is legion, and who also was one of those who presided over the comatose state of education in Nigeria. And now the largest cash cow has been handed over to him. That is the Nigerian narrative, and it's so unfortunate.
All right, we have to leave it here now, and we watch how things will go, and in the negotiations going forward, we look forward to positive outcomes where we don't need to see all of you stay home for the next 2 months. Thank you very much, Dr. Dele Ashiru, for coming on the program. Chairman ASUU Unilag Chapter, thank you.
Thank you for always giving us this opportunity. We are very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Chukwuemeka Nwajiuba. thank you very much for coming on the program as well.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're right.